The sun dipped low over the cliffs of Westburn Bay, casting golden light across the glass walls of the Hale estate inside. The mansion was silent except for the soft hum of a vacuum and the occasional creak of leather-bound books being dusted. In the study, Sarah Bennett adjusted the cloth wrapped around her head, muttering to herself as she polished the ornate chandelier. She had never cleaned a place so massive, and certainly never for someone like David Hale, the youngest CEO in the tech industry to make his first billion before 30, and the most emotionally unavailable man she had ever met. She had not even spoken to him in the 2 weeks she had been working here. That changed the moment his mother arrived. "Everything is set," David said. Margot Hale, her voice slicing through the quiet like a judge handing down a sentence. "Dinner is Friday night. The engagement will be announced publicly. Helena's dress is already being tailored." David, lounging on the leather sofa with his laptop, barely looked up. "What engagement?" "Sure, obviously, to Helena Woodrow. Honestly, I am tired of waiting for you to grow up." "I'd never agreed to marry Helena," he said, his tone calm. "But sharp, you are 29, you run an empire. It is time you start acting like it." "The merger with the Woodrows. Will I already have a girlfriend?" That made her pause. Margot's perfectly manicured fingers froze in midair. "Excuse me." David's eyes darted around for an escape. That is when he saw her, Sarah, balancing on a step stool, humming softly and cleaning dust from a vintage mirror. "He stood up her," he said impulsively, pointing toward Sarah. Sarah looked up, confused. What? Before she could say more, David strode over and kissed her. It was not soft, it was not planned, and it definitely was not welcome. For 5 full seconds, the world stopped. And the cloth fell from Sarah's hand. Her eyes widened. And then just as suddenly she shoved him. "Are you insane?" she shouted, glaring at him. "I can explain," David said, breathless. "No. You cannot. You kissed me in front of your mother." "David Hale," snapped Margot, clutching her handbag like it was a gavel. "You have officially lost your mind. A cleaning girl. She is more than that," David said, straightening his tie. But his voice wavered. Sarah picked up her cloth and threw it at him. "Do not you dare say another word. I am finishing the chandelier, and then I am quitting this soap opera of a job." Margot stormed out, her heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. David stood in the wreckage of his impulsive act, unsure if he had just saved himself or started a war in the laundry room. Lena, another staff member, found Sarah fuming and flustered. "He kissed me," Sarah ranted, "like I am some kind of accessory." "Wow," Lena said, folding sheets. "Was it at least a good kiss?" "No, yes, I mean, it does not matter. That is not the point. I was up on a ladder." "Who does that?" "Someone desperate," Lena shrugged. "What is his deal anyway?" "Mommy issues and too many zeros in his bank account." Back in the main wing, David watched the security cam footage again of Sarah yelling, red-faced, determined. Somehow he admired her even more. The next morning, Sarah entered the house to collect her final paycheck. She had planned a dramatic exit. What she got was an offer, $6,000. David said simply, "Standing in the kitchen 1 week, pretend to be my girlfriend. Public appearances, family dinner, zero touching, unless you initiate." She crossed her arms. "What kind of woman do you think I am? The kind who could use the money, and who does not let anyone walk over." Her Sarah almost walked away. Then her phone buzzed a moan. Nate collapsed again. "Doctor says his heart is getting worse." She froze. Her younger brother, the one who needed surgery, the one her family could not afford to help. Slowly she turned back. 10,000, no surprise kisses, no public groping. "I am not your charity case, and I am not your puppet." David nodded. "Dealand, I have rules, of course you do." That night the agreement was signed to people from 2 worlds united by a lie, but neither of them realized the lie was about to feel more real than anything they had ever known. Sarah stood in the massive walk-in closet of the guest wing, staring at the row of outfits David's assistant had left for her, all labeled, all sized, all untouched. She reached for the simplest one, a soft blue dress. Nothing flashy, nothing trying. Too hard it would have to do in while. David paced in the garden, rehearsing lines in his head like a nervous actor preparing for the most awkward role of his life. He had convinced Sarah to play the part of his girlfriend. Now he needed to make it look real. When Sarah walked out onto the patio, David turned and froze. She was not wearing diamonds or high heels, no dramatic makeup, just that simple blue dress and her usual fire behind her eyes. "Well," he said softly, "you clean up like a dream." Sarah rolled her eyes. "Wow, a whole compliment, without a contract attached. I must be special, you He muttered, then added, I mean, for this plan, of course, nice save they. Yes. Stood in silence for a second before David cleared his throat. We need to practice how. We act around each other, people know me, they will notice if we are stiff or awkward. Am always awkward around billionaires, so that should not be hard, David. Laughed slightly. Just pretend you like me, that is all. Sarah smirked. Fine, honey, do you want me to hold your hand now, or wait until the cameras are rolling? You are impossible and you are stuck with me that evening. They attended a charity gala hosted by one of David's investors. It was full of crystal lights, fake laughter, and people whose smiles cost more than Sarah's monthly rent. David guided Sarah through the crowd with his hand lightly on her back, their first test. She played the role with sharp grace, laughing at his jokes, teasing him gently when others were around you to seem perfect together, said one guest, sipping wine with an approving nod. It is an act, Sarah thought, but smiled anyway as they sat down at their table. Sarah leaned over. Is there a manual for this rich people etiquette stuff, or do I just nod and smile until my cheeks fall off? You are doing great, David whispered. Actually, too great I am. Starting to believe it. Good. Then maybe you will remember to double my fake girlfriend fee halfway. Through dinner, David's ex-fiancée, Helena, appeared like a designer. Storm David, she purred as she approached the table, still choosing house staff over high society. I see, Sarah smiled sweetly. Funny coming from someone who could be replaced by a smart mirror. Helena's smile twitched a hint of venom behind the gloss. David watched silently, both impressed and terrified. Helena had always dominated rooms, but tonight, Sarah was the one making people laugh after dinner. Margot cornered David outside near the Valles. Girl is not like us, she hissed. I raised you for better. Then what? David snapped. Someone with integrity, someone who does not care about money. She is beneath you, you mean? She is beneath you, mother. Because she has a job, because she is real. Margot's eyes narrowed. You will regret this maybe, but it will be my choice, not yours. Back in the ballroom, Sarah chatted with the pianist, asking if he knew any songs that did not sound like funeral march. Sue are enjoying this, David said as he returned a little. It is fun watching your world squirm around a girl with old boots and a Target dress. You know you were amazing in there, right? Sarah looked at him carefully. You saying that because you have to, or because you are starting to forget? This is fake. David hesitated, then looked away. Do not know later. That night, back at the mansion, Sarah tiptoed through the kitchen, looking for tea. When she found the lights already on, she saw David sitting at the counter, rubbing his temples rough. Night, she asked. Family drama, always fun. Join the club, she said, pouring hot water into 2 mugs. They sat there in the quiet midnight kitchen, 2 very different people on the same strange page. Did not have to defend me tonight, Sarah said softly. I know your mother wants a trophy wife, not a housemaid in sneakers. I did it because I meant it, David replied. You are smart, you are strong, you do not pretend. You do realize this whole week is us pretending, right? He looked at her, then a different look, one that did not feel like pretending at all. Sarah stood up suddenly, flustered. I should get some sleep. As she turned to go, David called out, wait. She stopped in the doorway. You asked earlier if I was starting to forget. This is fake use maybe. I am. Sarah did not answer. She just nodded once, then walked out, heart pounding faster than it should have. The next morning started like any other until it didn't. Sarah was alone in the kitchen fixing the old toaster again. She had a habit of tinkering with things, as if fixing small problems made her feel more in control. When she touched the exposed wire with a damp tool, a jolt of electricity shot through her arm. She yelped and fell back hard, knocking over a chair with a loud crash. David was in his office, but the moment he heard the scream, he ran. He found her on the floor, eyes wide, breath shaking, holding her arm. What happened? Toaster tried to fix it. Her voice was unsteady. You were shocked. Can you stand? He thinks so. She tried, but her legs gave out, and David scooped her up without asking, ignoring her protests. Sput me down. I am not broken. You could have been. He carried her to his car and drove straight to the hospital. He did not speak much, but every red light he turned to check on her. You look like someone just stabbed your bank account, she joked. That is not funny. You are way too tense for someone in a fake relationship. He did not answer, because she was right. He was scared, and he had no reason to beat. The hospital, they wrapped her hand and gave her a mild sedative. It was not serious, they said, but David sat beside her the whole time like it wasn't. The ride home, she leaned her head back inside you, care too much. David, you think that is a bad thing, no? Just unexpected, he pulled into the driveway, then turned to her before she opened the door. Rest tonight. No cleaning, no chores. I will cover it too, or being nice again, she said. Raising an eyebrow, dangerous move for a cold CEO, he smiled. Only for you. Sarah paused, then stepped out. David S. Thanks for not being fake about this, and, for the first time since the deal began, she let her fingers brush his arm before walking away. She was starting to forget it was all pretend to. The morning sun lit the Hale estate with soft gold spilling across the marble floors and tall windows. Sarah stood in the kitchen, staring out into the garden, where David knelt in the grass, sleeves rolled up, planting roses. Alone, she had not seen him smile like that before, not the polite CEO smile, the real one, the kind that crept in without warning and stayed too long. She walked outside quietly, arms crossed. You garden now, she asked. Since when? Since you electrocuted yourself, and I realized I might care about more than meetings and mergers. She sat on the stone bench beside the flower bed. There. Pink, your favorite, right too. Remember that, David? Wiped his hands on a towel and sat beside her, close enough to feel the warmth between them. Remember a lot more than I should, he said, looking at her. I remember how you pretend to hate the chandelier, but secretly love it. I remember how you tilt your head when you are trying not to laugh. I remember that every time you talk about your brother, your voice softens, like the whole world disappears. But Sarah looked down at her hands, unsure what to say. This was supposed to be fake. I know we had rules, we did. She turned to face him. So why does it not feel fake anymore? Because somewhere between the kiss and the contract, I stopped pretending. David reached into his jacket and pulled out the original agreement she had signed the first day. He held it out to her. What's this? Proof I am done with rules. She opened it, confused, and saw his signature already scribbled across it in thick red marker, with one word written over the page, VOID. He watched her eyes as they read it, and then looked back at him. No more pretending, David said. No more payments or roles or lies. And what am I now? Then he reached up, gently brushing a loose strand of hair behind her. You are the woman I wake up thinking about every day. You are the reason I look forward to dinners and thunderstorms and fixing broken things. You are not my maid or my cover story. You are just you, and somehow that is enough to make me want everything. Sarah laughed, once soft and breathless. You are really bad at romance, you know. That I am learning. He leaned forward slowly, and she did not pull away this time. This kiss was not rushed or staged or planned. This kiss was real, like the ache in their chests when they were apart, like the feeling that had grown from sparks into wildfire when they pulled apart. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Then Sarah whispered, I cannot believe I fell for a man who kissed me without warning in front of his mother. David grinned. I cannot believe I kissed a woman who threw a dust rag at me and quit on the same day. You deserved that. Ty probably did. They stood up, hand in hand, walking slowly back toward the house later that afternoon. As rain tapped gently on the windows, they cooked together in the kitchen floor, dusting their faces. Laughter echoing off the granite walls. Sarah fed him a spoonful of soup, and David kissed her wrist. Instead, you are ridiculous, she said, smiling. You are beautiful, he answered. By evening, they were curled up on the sofa, a blanket tangled between them and a quiet film forgotten on the screen. Sarah rested her head on his chest, listening to the beat of his heart. David, yes, this feels like home. He kissed her forehead. It is.